Okay, so activity 1 of your veins lab is all about the veins that are forming the superior vena cava. So the only model that we'll be able to see the dural venous sinuses on is going to be the transparent skull model. So you should have learned in B32 that these blue bands here along this model are the dural venous sinuses. That's the only model we can see them on. Those are going to drain into the internal jugular veins, which we can see on here. Internal jugular in blue here, internal jugular here. We do have external jugulars as well that drain into the subclavians, but we don't see those on this model. We can only see that right there on the bust model, this guy. That's the only place we can see the external jugular. So from there, here's the internal jugular that drains into these brachiocephalic veins that make a V, and then those drain into the superior vena cava, which is then going to drain into the right atrium. Now, one thing to remember is that when studying these vessels, and if you use your textbook as a reference, your textbook is going to have many extra vessels that you're not responsible for. So make sure that you're sticking to just your learn list for these labs. Okay, so activity 2 is all about the veins of the upper limbs. We're going to start out at the digital veins, which run along the fingers here. This would be the deep palmar arch. Now, the superficial palmar arch is also on your list, but we don't see veins on the other hand over here, and we know that if we're touching bone, then that would be the deep palmar arch. From there, those actually would connect to your radial and ulnar veins, which are not seen on this model. So you don't have to know these on the model. Obviously, you do have to know them for pathways, but you just cannot see those on this model. I will explain, I did explain in lab, that there are 2 different pathways that are happening along the arm. You have the deep pathway, which is not really seen very well. You can see the deep palmar arch, but the other parts that are part of the deep pathway are the radial and ulnar veins, which then drain into the brachial vein, which is here. The brachial vein would extend all the way to the elbow, but we just don't see that on this model. The deep pathway is cut off. And then we have a superficial pathway that runs closer to the skin, but it does not connect with the deep pathway until we get around the shoulder area here. So I will show you the superficial pathway that you can see on this model. So this blue vein here, that is what we call the basilic vein. Okay, that one there. This is the cephalic here. And then there's actually an anastomosis that connects to 2 here. That is the median cubital vein, and that's the most common site for a venipuncture. So one thing to know is that the basilic vein is going to reconnect and drain into the axillary vein, but the cephalic vein on the outside does not drain or reconnect until we get to the subclavian there. And I think that's actually it for activity 2. But I guess I'll show you. From the subclavian, then it would take the same pathway as the other video from the head. So from the subclavian to the brachiocephalic veins, and then to the superior vena cava and to the right atrium. And then that's it.